My name is Gianni Russo, a.k.a. Carlo, the infamous son-in-law from The Godfather. I'm now known as the Hollywood Godfather, and this is my story.
Before all of the wins in my portfolio, I was a little boy diagnosed with polio. Experimenting with cures, I tried every one. Felt everything in my right, but my left was numb. Walking with a limp, like will I ever run? Once again, or is this it? Am I forever done? Living in the hospital was never fun. Some people were cool, but not everyone.
Welcome, everybody. It's time for another Hollywood Godfather podcast. And you know, as Jeannie and I keep asking you to keep your cards and letters coming in, tonight is another result of an email, which I didn't realize. They have my email out on the website. I was wondering why I'm getting all these emails. First of all, let me introduce Jeannie Raymond, my co-host. Thank God for her.
Oh, thank
She's
you.
brought such life to the show. Good evening, my darling. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Gianni?
I'm really, I'm getting excited about this new format that you and I are doing. And we've been getting so much more
The feedback, huh?
feedback and contribution,
Right.
which tonight's show, I mean, last week's show was insane, I think.
Oh, I loved it. I love them all, but I do have my favorites, and last week was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, tonight's show, a lawyer, Michael, I won't say his last name, read my book several times. And he said, me being a lawyer, how many lawyers have you used in your lifetime? And as most people know, the first lawyer I met was because of Costello. After 2 or 3 years of being working for him, he put me on the road to go and help Senator John F. Kennedy become president. And all I was doing is messaging, going here and here and there. And then on the weekends, I was spending the weekends with the Rat Pack. They were hosting corporate heads and people that would support, again, him getting nominated, John F. Kennedy, for president. So with that, I mean, my earliest lawyer, I was like 16. And his name was Sidney Korshak. Now, Sidney Korshak has a history of being like Mr. Fix-It. And when we get into the show and you see where he's taken me, because Korshak, when I met him at first in Chicago, I was on my way to meet Ricardo. And they took me to the Palmer House Hotel. And he asked if I had an envelope for him. And I did, and I gave it to him, but I would deliver envelopes so many times, I just got used to it. And he said, and he opened it up, and I could recognize a $10,000, band around the money. And he said, and he put it in his pocket, and he said, you know what this is, don't you? I said, no. He said, well, this is a letter where you're hiring me to represent you. And this was the first time I ever heard that. Once he signed it and I signed it, he kept his copy, I kept my copy. We had now privileged conversation, which I thought was that easy. It's amazing. You can't use anything there over here, even if it's wiretapped.
Oh, really?
They can't use it in court.
Oh,
Once
wow.
they know you have a lawyer.
Okay.
So up to right now, since I'm 16, I've had a lawyer. I retain a lawyer. And man who is like my mentor now, after 66 years of friendship, I talk to him once or twice a week sometimes. If there's any question, I talk to him. And he's been my mentor. I'm just going to use his first name because he's so high profile. His name is Al, but I don't make a move. any business deal, anything, he reviews it. So we're gonna start, you know, as I said, with my trip 1959 to meet Sidney Korshak, and he became my first lawyer. And then we'll continue from there. But it's interesting because, you know, when you start to think of how many people have, you know, for less things than I've ever done, have been in jail and doing this. I have never been in jail. I have never had handcuffs on. I've never been arrested. I don't have a traffic ticket.
Well, you've
Never.
got a
I mean,
chauffeur, so that's half cheating. A
what?
driver. I said, well, you have a driver, so
Well,
I'm
I got a
joking.
driver only
Right.
because of the fact that, you know, I
Drink.
drank too much.
Well, it doesn't take much to drink too much, that's for sure.
No.
But yeah, that's wild. So at 16, having an attorney, that just seems so wild. I mean, I've had to hire 2 attorneys, you know, for a divorce, but I haven't thank goodness, haven't had the need to hire one for anything else. You know, I live in Utah. It doesn't get too crazy here, but I can't imagine, and that's smart. You know, so many people do things and don't cover their assets, you know, but
Well, yeah. And I like the way you said that. They'll cover their assets.
that's right. Got to keep an eye on your stuff. Keep
Well,
yourself out of
once
trouble.
I got that piece of paper with him, then I went on to Accardo's house. And most people don't know who Tony Accardo is. His nickname is Tony Batters
Oh,
because he was a bodyguard to Al Capone early on in life. And what he used to use are baseball bats. So he used to, it's all according, if they just want the guy hurt or they want the guy
they're real
dissolved,
bad. Yeah. Oh, I
he'd
can't
break,
imagine getting hit with a bat.
yeah. Oh my
Oh,
God. Yeah. Especially from a guy who's like 6 foot and knows how to use it.
yeah.
So
Wow.
he was the first guy I met. And then they passed me on to every crime family there was in Detroit, Milwaukee, Kansas City, there's some fellas, which I loved. And then, you know, Carlos Masalas, who people don't realize, he was the boss in New Orleans for almost 40 years.
What was his name? Marcellus?
Marcelo,
Marcello.
Carlos Marcelo.
Marcello. Okay.
And
Wow.
and he was partners, unbeknownst to me, even with Frank Costello, because they had all the slot machines down there. And when Mayor LaGuardia was going after Costello in New York, he went down there and stayed down there for a while. But there was I mean, when you start to think of, I mean, yeah, that man, you know, he mentored me and made me very rich, fortunately. And I'm still in his apartment in New York yet, which
I
is,
love that.
it's amazing. But, and now I was just delivering messages, so you could stop me doing anything you want. But, and then the privilege of getting to know John F. Kennedy at the level of, you know, he was a senator already, really a great charismatic person. And to see him every weekend at the Sands Hotel, you know, he'd come either Friday or Saturday, but he was always there for Saturday nights because that's when they entertained a lot of people, corporation, I mean, major business people that could influence the vote. And
Sure.
as we know, fortunately, he did get nominated. And so it was a crazy time for me. And then, you know, with different lawyers and me working at the Vatican for many years with my partner, Nick Nitti, we the attorney for them what was a man called Jim Bianco, which means white in Italian. So I have been with him now, then his son, and now his grandson is my attorney in Liechtenstein. But this goes on, like, when you start to talk about attorneys, even with a guy who got me my part in The Godfather, Barry Schlotnick. And that was in 1971.
The lawyer got you the job in the movie?
No, I say the lawyer because
Oh, he was with you.
he accompanied Joe Colombo and I to the meeting at the Gulf and Western building when we met everybody that was involved with the casting of the film. And then they made a deal and came to an agreement to eradicate what Joe Colombo felt was offensive to
Oh,
the
that's right.
Italian heritage and all that. So
Sure.
it's a situation that, when I say he did it, he negotiated it indirectly.
Right.
But now his son, Stu Slotnick, is, I mean, when you talk about things that are so bizarre, his son just represented me in the lawsuit against the television show called The Offer, which was 8 hours of making of The Godfather.
Right.
It just keeps going full circle. And that was just last year.
Right.
It's, that's 53 years between his father and I.
That's wild. So that's Schlotnick that's now that you say that son, dad and the son and the grandson?
No.
Korshak.
Bianco. No, Bianco, no. Bianco in Rome.
Oh, okay.
With the Vatican. That's 3 generations. Schlotnick is only 2 so far.
So far.
But Stu's a young guy. He'll be around a long time with me. And I don't even know if he has children old enough to be a lawyer yet.
Mm.
But it's great to be content because most law enforcement people, and I've had so many people come, once they know you're represented, they can't talk to you.
Right.
That's why you always see on the news, my client's going to turn himself in on Monday because he negotiated that already. Normally, unless I committed a murder, they're not going to get arrested on the street, but I mean,
right.
It's when in question or when in doubt, they have to go to a lawyer first, which is great.
Right.
A few times it gave me the opportunity to leave the country before I had to go to jail. So like the unfortunate situation, as we talked about JFK, he obviously became president. And when they brought in his brother Bobby as Attorney General, that was the father's idea, but not realizing.
Yeah, that blew this whole situation, right?
Well, not only that, but Bobby hated his brother and his father.
Oh, wow.
He was mama's little boy, and he was going to show everybody. And he basically almost did. In fact, I was at Marcellus's house in New Orleans when they raided it. And he had all the TV cameras and everything else because he wanted to grandstand. And when he served the subpoena and they put handcuffs on Marcellus, he went insane because they were doing it in front of his grandchildren.
Oh, that's right.
There was no reason for him to do that. And he said right then and there, a lot of this may be redundant, but it goes to go with the show that if Marcellos did what I did, they couldn't do that to him. He would have been protected by a lawyer. But I don't know why he didn't.
Right.
But he was such a powerful guy. Maybe he thought he didn't need to do it. Then, Korshak's representation,
reputation?
Reputation. Yeah.
Reputation. There
reputation.
We go.
He became and got the name of Mr. Fix-It.
Oh.
But that's the type of people. Like he was representing Steve Wynn. He was representing Lou Wasserman, which was MCA Universal Studios. And I mean, it goes on and on and on. So I mean, it's and Lou Wasserman also represented Ronald Reagan as, I mean, and not Lou Wasserman, Korshak, Ronald Reagan when he was the governor of California, and then when he became the president of the United States. So I mean, you start talking about people having lawyers at
Right.
that level, and I'm just a schmucky kid at 16, and I had this
The best.
guy. He was with me all that time, you know. I mean, it's crazy when you think about it, because I mean, Korshak died in 1996.
Oh, you're kidding.
No,
Wow.
that's how long I had him,
That's incredible.
because you
Who,
know,
didn't you say is there an attorney or something that never wrote anything down, or what was I'm trying to think what that was. The story about, oh, maybe it was a money guy that had it all in his head and never wrote stuff down. And
that
I
was
was
Frank
thinking,
Costello.
oh, okay.
Frank
But,
Costello. He made me. That's how I started these journals,
oh, that's right.
because he'd tell me things to do, and unbeknownst to him, I'd write them down on a little piece of paper. You know, I was in the Waldorf Astoria all the time, so I'd get something, wrote it down, put it even in a code, and then I put it in my journal.
Oh,
Most people call them diaries or whatever, but they're agendas.
right,
And I have them since 1956. I have them here now. I take the later ones because you can't carry them all around, but I
right.
keep, 20 or 30 years of them with me. They're only this big. They're not a lot, but
Yeah.
I put them in a bag, in a box, and they're here. And I reference them. So when I got this request to figure out how many attorneys I had, it goes on and on and on. And we're going to touch on most of them tonight. But the interesting thing is, like I said, I met Sidney Korshak when I was 16.
That's insane. I mean, it's really crazy. At 16, you don't even know what attorneys are or why you'd need them,
Well,
most
I
kids.
heard about them, but most of us, were introduced to attorneys through television, like
Sure.
Perry Mason and all that, But I never realized once you had a lawyer and was known to have a lawyer, and he was registered to be a lawyer, they couldn't come to you. They had to go to him first. I mean, unless you're talking about a mass murder or something, then they'll get
And they'll
you.
just pick you
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
You're going without an escort. All right. Well, let's take a quick commercial break. How's that sound?
Oh, yeah. And I have a good commercial that I want to do right now personally. And for anybody out there, because I'm going to be at the Los Angeles Marriott Burbank Airport Hotel, and I'll be there on Friday, October 18th and 19th, and it's called The Hollywood Show. So if you have any memorabilia, The Godfather, I'll be there 8 hours a day at a booth. Look me up. There'll be a lot of other celebrities. I've been doing these shows. It's so much fun to meet your fans, had one-on-one. And like I said, I'll be there on Friday from 4 to 8. Then Saturday, I'm there from 10 to 6 o'clock at night. So it's again, Los Angeles Marriott Burbank Airport Hotel. It's 2500 North Hollywood Boulevard, Hollywood Way, rather, in Burbank, California. I would love you to stop by, say hello, bring your Godfather memorabilia. I'll sign it. We'll take selfies. But it's becoming a big thing. I did a show just recently, and we had 30,000 people in 3 days. It was insane. Come out. We'll have some
Serious.
fun.
Yeah. Oh, and it's called The Hollywood Show.
The Hollywood Show. I'll send you all the invitations. Yeah.
All right. I'll
That's
put a
what it's
link to
called.
it.
It's
Yeah.
called The Hollywood Show.
Great. We'll
And
put a
it's
link
right
to
in
it
that
the show
hotel.
notes. Awesome. Well,
Right
we'll
in
have
that
to,
convention center. Yep.
yeah. Awesome. Well, we'll get that on our Facebook page and on our Instagram. So anyone who's in the area can come and join us.
Yeah.
That'll be great.
So I want, this is interesting to me, because in looking at this, I got an invitation because I was dealing with the Vatican during this time, And the Pope let me know, Pope John Paul let me know he was coming to Universal Studios in 1987. This story is hysterical. So he said, would you join? He did an 8-city tour that year. 8 cities came to, but I said, listen, I'll meet you at Universal Studios. I'll do that. He said, well, come in earlier. We'll have a room for you because we're all staying in a certain, lockdown. I mean,
Right.
secure. Imagine the
Yeah.
the Pope and his entourage is coming to Universal Studios.
Right.
And Lou Wasserman, who was the head of MCA Universal Studios, was hosting one major party that it was like a one-on-one, an hour and a half cocktail party that the Pope was going to attend.
Wow.
So now I had clearance with the Vatican years, and I never traveled outside the Vatican. And what they gave me, and this is again, who's involved with this whole thing, is Sidney Korshak. Because Sidney Korshak is Lou Wasserman's attorney and Universal Pictures.
Can he bill you both while he was there? While he was working?
But when you start thinking of that, I met him in 59.
Wow.
This is 87. And
That's
that's still the, so but what makes it so funny or interesting. So when I get there the night before, and they tell me where to go, and they had floors blocked at this hotel at Universal Studios. And they gave me a little pin for my lapel button. So that Secret Service, the Vatican's own police department travels with him, there's guards. They recognize who's got clearance.
Oh.
They gave me a magnetized card to keep in my suit jacket. So when I went into secured areas, it wouldn't flash lights or anything. Because everybody else who didn't have one, they set off a vibration, and security would look that way and tell them you can't do that.
That's
Long
wild.
story short, I'm in the cocktail hour, and I think the fee was a contribution of like $25,000 a head to be in that room. So
wow.
who spots me first is Sinatra. And he
Oh, wow.
and he says, I didn't know you were coming. I said, yeah, I was invited. He said, oh, great. We started talking this, that, and the other. And he says, did you meet the Pope yet? I said, oh, yeah, I met him several times. So I didn't elaborate on it. And then a funny story with me and Nancy Reagan. We never got along. And again, because that's because of Korshak. And I may have said this before, because when I met him, and he knew I started to go to LA a lot, he said, well, go to La Bistro restaurant. I own it. Jimmy and Casper are the maitre d's. They already know about the kid. And now they know me as Gianni Russo because, see, nobody knew me as anybody else other name than the kid until I made The Godfather.
Right.
And then people say, wow, now we know who you are. We got a name, all that, which is funny. But why I'm bringing this story up, I'm making a movie at the time with Tony Curtis called Lepke.
Oh, that's right.
And he's playing Louis Buchalter. I'm playing Albert Anastasia, who his brother happens to be my godfather for confirmation. Is that wild?
Whose brother?
Albert's brother.
Albert. Oh my gosh.
His
It's
brother
crazy
Tony.
how intertwined everybody is.
I know, it keeps spinning the same way. And his brother Tony Anastasia, who was the head of the International Longshoremen's Union in New York, he controlled from Canada to New Orleans. and Carlos Masalas controlled from New Orleans to upstate California.
Oh my
They,
God.
they controlled all the waterfront, any ships, any move. That was one of the biggest brotherhoods. And how I met all these guys was again because of getting Senator John F. Kennedy nominated for president. And that stayed on. Why I'm bringing it up in this situation is that they're all there. Everybody's there. And so, and during the, we got an hour and a half, and you had a chance to get online and, and meet him, the Pope. So Sinatra says, "Come on, let's go meet the Pope." I said, "I already did," because he didn't know I've been friends with this guy since he became Pope. I
Right.
see him in the Vatican. I didn't. There was no way I could say that. Say that to him, especially. So
Right.
now his attaché comes in at the end with a little xylophone, gets the attention. He said, "Well, now everybody please leave and go to the main ballroom." And the Pope and his invited guests will make their way. And then he can clear everybody out. So Sinatra comes to me, he says, "Who are you sitting with?" I said, "I really don't know." He's, "Well, if you need a chair, come sit with me. Don't worry about it." I said, "Okay." But I knew where I
You
was
knew where
sitting,
you're going.
but I didn't know.
Just didn't want to tell him. You got the
Well,
good.
I didn't want to. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I know I had a reserved seat. What I didn't know is that the master of ceremonies was going to introduce the dais as they were coming into the room. Once we're all in, before the Pope came, then they said, "We'd like the audience to acknowledge the special guest of his eminency." And they called me out. They went through and they said, "And Gianni Russo, representing the Russo family from Modena, Sicily." And they didn't even mention the Godfather. To them, didn't mean nothing. And the Godfather was out already. The Godfather came out in '72. And everybody's
Oh,
thinking, like, what's he doing up there? Especially Sinatra.
well,
Which you
yeah,
get the,
you've had so many different personas. You're the kid, then
yeah.
you're the movie star, and now you're representing the family. They're like this guy, like all these lives that nobody knew about. That's crazy.
But it was so funny because you can imagine, and the one person who basically hated me, because I was talking about, you know, um, Ronald Reagan's wife, Nancy,
Oh yeah, yeah.
when she was first lady of California, she came into the bistro one night while I was sitting at Korshak's table. And she's looking at me and looking at them as they're talking. And then Casper comes over and he says, "Johnny, would you mind sliding down a little bit? Because the first lady, Nancy Reagan, would like to sit at this table." I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "Yeah." Nancy, I said, "Well, if Sidney Korshak calls me and tells me to move, I will. Why would I want to move? I'm in the middle of dinner and I'm
Right.
hosting my friend, Tony Curtis.
Oh
Tony
wow.
Curtis don't know what's going on."
Right.
And she looked at me he's telling her, she storms out of the place. So I'm only building this up because now, a couple of months later, on a Sunday night, I'm at Matteo's restaurant, which on Sunday nights, you had anybody to get in there. You couldn't get in. You had to have a table there. I happen to have a table there all the time. I was living there. I was
Yeah.
married. So Sunday nights, I'd go to Good Shepherd Church, 5:30 Mass, and I'd go there. So who's there that night is Nancy Reagan with some of her girlfriends. Now, Matty Matteo was a crude guy from Hoboken, New Jersey, who grew up with Frank Sinatra. And when he came out there, Frank gave him the money to open this restaurant called Matteo's on Westwood Boulevard. So now, and which is funnier because Frank's mother, nobody knows these stories. Frank's mother was a midwife and an abortionist.
Oh, wow.
No, Dolly was wild. She was a barmaid at Hoboken, but she was the head of the Democratic Party. She was a man. She was all these things. And when she delivered Maddie, they wrenched his neck or something, and he always had a neck that was crooked like this. So now there's
Wow.
all this commotion, and I'm there with my family, little kids. But everybody excused Maddie for his foul mouth because that was Maddie.
Yeah.
So he calls the waiters over and he says, "Do you know who this bitch is? Do you know who this is? This is the first lady of this effing state." But he says the word, and the whole room is quiet. And her Secret Service are going, they just called Lady Bird, and they're saying it, and they're hustling her out. And I'm laughing because now she looks and it's me again.
Oh, no.
Because
You're in trouble.
she just did the thing at the Bistro a month or two before that. And now
Oh,
this.
my gosh. Yeah, she hates you too.
Yeah. So now here we are, and she sees me with the Pope.
Oh, my gosh.
And now, obviously, I think he was president of the United States at that time in '87. I even forgot. When was Ronald Reagan
That
president?
sounds close. Because I was in junior high. I'll figure it out while you're finishing this story.
So anyway, they make this announcement of me, and they had no reaction to anybody else but me because I stood up and raised my hand and sat down again. But there was a whole buzz in the room, like saying, "What the hell's he doing up there?" And I could see her with her security going like, I was dying. What's even funnier, though, which what I'm going to say now is crazy because of Sinatra. Now, dinner's going on. He comes up to walk to me. And as soon as he walks up to me, you hear this humming, and all the security for the Pope stops Mr. Sinatra, says, "Sir, you can't approach the dais." He says, "What are you talking about?" His attitude. "I want to talk to my friend." He says, "Sir, please sit down or we'll have to remove you."
Oh, my.
And I'm saying to myself, I can't believe how many people I'm pissing off and I got nothing to
Right.
do.
Just sitting
So
there behaving.
but the funniest thing is I said to Frank, "Go to your table. I'll come and see you there."
Oh, gosh. He probably ready to smack you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was that crazy. I mean, it's so to get back to the guy Michael, who asked me how many attorneys I've had in my life. It doesn't stop.
Right.
Because even after this incident, I have a house in Las Vegas.
All right. Hold on. Hold on. We need to do one more quick break and then you can come back to Vegas.
Okay.
All right.
We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. You're not going to miss the story.
Absolutely.
Vinny from South Philly here. I'm going to tell you, I had one of the best Sunday dinners in a long time. I'm going to tell you why. Right here. Corleone, fine Italian, brother. This stuff is the real deal. Now, I know what you're thinking. Everybody knows me out there. They know. I make my own sauce. I make my own gravy. I make my own pasta. I don't buy this stuff in the store. However, I made an exception. Why? Because my friend Gianni Russo out there, I know what he's capable of doing. I know what he's about. He's about quality. So I said, I gotta take a shot. And I'm glad I did. Because see, I had dinner all over the world, but this product brings me back to Italy. We got the olive oil, and I've lived in Italy, okay? I lived in Calabria. I've went to Sicily. I've been to Messina. I've been to Palermo. I've been everywhere. And this oil reminds me of an old Italian couple that my father used to buy olive oil from. They used to live in the mountains and they used to make their oil pure from their own olive grove. This is it. It brings me right back to that. And you don't need a lot. You put a little on your salad, you marinate. I mean, come on. You can figure it out. This is the real stuff. I also got their arrabbiata, okay? Again, I don't buy this stuff, but I made an exception. I'm glad I did. I highly, highly, highly encourage you to try this stuff. You won't be sorry, okay? Give it a shot. You go to Corleone Fine Italian. You order it. It comes to the door. And then all you got to do is put it together. And I'm sure you can look it up. And if you don't know how to cook it, you ask me. And I'll be over for dinner. Enjoy. Salud.
Okay, we're back. This story you're not going to believe. I built a house on La Paloma Avenue for my wife at the time, who wasn't my wife for too long. And I had a child, but I built her a nice house.
Hey,
And had her brother and his wife move in, had the mother and father move from Rhode Island. They were all there.
nice.
I have my house on the Las Vegas Country Club, and I used to come there on Sundays to have dinner and have friends, have big time dinner in the backyard. So now it's important. Rex Bell, whose father was a famous actor called Rex Bell,
Oh,
was the district attorney of Clark County, Nevada at the time. And he was my neighbor.
oh,
Why this is important is because while I'm having dinner, a few nights before, a man called Tony Spilatro tried to come into my club in Las Vegas.
oh, oh, oh.
And he was in the Black Book. Now, for the people who don't know about the Black Book, if you're in that book, you're not allowed to go into gaming institutes at all. Not allowed. And I'm not, if I know who you are and in the Black Book, if I let you in, I could lose my license.
Yeah.
So the good news about State Street, we ran it like a speakeasy. It was my club. That was an amazing place. Sinatra, Sammy Davis, D. Martin opened it up, charged me nothing. They were there Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. It operated 12 hours a day, 6 o'clock at night to 6 in the morning. And about 3 o'clock, Tony Spilatro and his entourage come to the door. My doorman called me right away. They said, we have a problem at the front door. Would you come out? I come out. And, I got my own entourage with me. And I opened the door and it's him. He's let me in his place. We didn't say it so nice. He used foul language. I said, Tony, I'm not allowed to let you in here. What are you talking about? Nobody's here. I said, the place is packed. And I said, I'm not going to lose my license over you.
Yeah.
I said, so it's not my fault, nothing. And I closed the door. 2 weeks later, I'm having my Sunday dinner, which most people knew I did every Sunday. I had, bocce court in the backyard. We had, hors d'oeuvres outside. They would all go into my dining room. And then my daughter, Gia, fortunately had her own dining room for the kids or kids of the family of some people that were there. We're sitting down. And when I built this house, I built it like a fortress because this is where my kid's going to live. My daughter Gia lived there already. And when I poured the reinforcement there was no basements. It was everything was built on slabs in the desert, but I wanted a basement.
Right.
So I built it on a slab. Then at 7 feet high, I started the second floor. And when we poured the walls, we did the reinforcement concrete right up to windowsill height. And then I filled it in with truckloads of dirt. So now you have a staircase to go up to my front door. And I'm not like everybody else around me. So I had a big, and subconsciously, because I know so much about ballistics and guns at that time, if you wanted to come and shoot me, you were on the street. If you were shooting, you'd be shooting up. No, up.
Oh, so, up to because of your...
To get to the windows. So what's it going to do? It's going to hit the ceilings.
Yeah.
Because I was always paranoid. I've been shot, stabbed. So anyway, long story short, we're having dinner. And machine gun shots are cutting across all my front windows, heading to my dining room.
Oh God.
Everybody's laying on the ground. There's silence, and it's like in a Western. The last piece of glass falls and whatever.
Oh, I can't imagine.
And the car or whatever speeds off. The reason I mentioned Rex Bell, the district attorney, was my neighbor. How are you going to shoot up a cul-de-sac that the district attorney lives on?
Oh man.
These guys didn't get 4 blocks away.
Holy cow.
And when they pulled him over, they brought him down, and they found out they were hired guns from San Diego. Tony Spilotro paid them to come up and shoot my house. Now they're in a holding cell. That next day, I fly to Chicago because I had it. Because
Oh, I can't imagine. All your grandkids. and
I'm
your
doing
family.
business for the syndicate. Nobody knows really what we're doing with the market money and all that. And definitely Tony Spilotro didn't know. So I see Ricardo that night, because Sunday night he had dinner. I get there on a Wednesday. I tell him what's going on, and he's let me handle it. So first they went to Sam Giancana, who was the street boss. And obviously he couldn't control Spilotro. Spilotro destroyed Nevada for the mob. I mean, it was crazy. So they killed Sam Giancana. And it was somebody he had to know because he was in his basement cooking, and they shot him 5 times in the head. And
Holy
then they sent, then Spilotro was sent for by Tony Accardo to come to Chicago because they want to make his brother Michael, they were going to make him
Oh,
be a maid. So he thought they're probably going to make my brother now, and I have to step down. So he came.
oh my gosh.
And make a long story short, you have to read about it. It's very gory. It's in my book out now, actually.
Yeah.
And
Holy cow.
they killed him. But
Both of them, right? Him and his brother.
yeah, both the Spilotro brothers were killed, and they killed him somewhere else. But they buried him in a potato field in Idaho or Indiana, wherever it was. But all of this has to do with lawyers, and all of this has to do. Lawyers since I'm 16 have been involved in my life. It's so crazy. Because at that time, my lawyer in Nevada was Jeffrey Silva. Now, how I got Jeffrey Silva, because Jeffrey Silva was the head of the Gaming Commission. And he could only hold that position for so many years. Then he had to step down. And when he went to a law firm that I already retained called Lionel, Sawyer, and Collins. Thank God for my old mind. The law firm was Lionel, Sawyer, and Collins, the most prestigious law firm in Nevada. And Jeffrey Silva handled all the gaming. And thank God I had him as a lawyer, because I was going to go for my gaming license for State Street. And what people don't know, when you go for a gaming license, you pay for your investigation up front, whether you get the license or not. So they estimated my license, they gave me a bill for like $180,000
Holy smokes.
because they had to go everywhere. They had to go to Chicago to find out if I was connected. They had to go to New York. They would everybody. So
Oh, wow.
Jeffrey said to me, he says, Johnny, I don't know if we're going to get this license because they could delay. So I thought about it. I said, now it's my time to go to the Gaming Commission. And so, and all the commissions seated. And I talked this over with Jeffrey Silver, the genius of attorney. And he said, try it. I'd never heard of this before. So I raised my hand. I says to the chairman, I said, may I approach the committee before we go on record? Because I knew, because they had to let me know, and had to let Jeffrey Silver know, all the people they talked to. And I said, I'm an Italian American. I have never had a traffic ticket, never arrested, nothing. And I think you may be contemplating turning me down for association. Well, that's against my constitutional rights, even though this is a privileged license.
Right.
I want to make it easier for you. If you would grant me a 1-year suspended license on trial, and if I entertain anybody in the black book or get involved in any crime or have anybody I host at State Street, I will give the state of Nevada my restaurant and everything. Turn it over to you the next day. They all looked at each other. They said, wait a minute. You're saying if you get a ticket even, you'll surrender your license and give the property and you can sell it, do anything you want with the money. I said, yes. And you're willing to take that? I said, yes. As you can make it an amendment to my license. So now they call the meeting to order and they give me a 1-year suspended license. Well, I wouldn't let anybody in.
Right.
So
You
after
started out like a hawk.
after the year, I got my permanent license, gaming license, which I still have. See, they can only take your license if you do something fraudulent. And why I reserved my license, because I own a lot of property in Nevada yet. I could sell my property with a gaming license attached.
Oh my gosh. And
which
you've got
makes
a
it-
prime corner over there right now.
Oh, I know. And all they have to do is like they would have to do once you built the casino, they'd come and inspect it, built it to code, and then they give you the license. So, I mean,
You've already got it, right?
yeah,
So
of course.
just
So, why I'm saying this, to answer Michael's question, I would have to say, with the generations of just the Bianco family and the Slotnick family, and I must have had 100 attorneys at some time or another on retainer.
well, that is insane. I mean, and there are different types of attorneys for different things.
Yeah,
These guys just took.
real estate, gaming, child support. Hello, when they
Oh,
did that deadbeat dad. Oh my God, forget about it. They thought
yeah.
they were gonna. That's a funny story too.
Let's hear
Because
it.
now the funniest thing is, I have a child, is Anthony from upstate New York, and his mother was out of wedlock, but I was paying child support. Then I stopped sending her the money, and I was sending to the grandparents who were actually taking care of my son because I found out
Oh, yeah.
that she became a drug addict, and sometimes she'd throw my son out of the house even while she was doing what she was doing. And he'd be out in the rain sometimes. And he was only a little kid, 17, 18 years, 7 or 8 years old.
Oh, geez.
So now they subpoena me. So I called the district attorney up there. I said, I'm coming, but I do not want to be in the gallery until you call my case. I'll be in the hallway. I said, okay, as long as we know you're coming. I said, but I'd rather you don't say I'm coming. And he thought it was because of the celebrity thing about me with The Godfather. And now I made even more movies. And he said, no problem, Mr. Russo. I'm a big fan of yours. So I knew I had this guy. So now they called it, bailiff says, next case, Caruso, her name was Caruso versus Russo. And I come through the door. Well, the whole, I said, wow, he's here.
Perry Mason moment.
Yeah. And I did a Perry Mason moment. I said, Your Honor, can I approach the bench, please, with the district attorney?
Yeah.
He said, yes, please. I go up there. I said, Your Honor, I said, I want full custody of my son. She cannot have access to him any longer. And he said, you want it? I said, I want full custody, but I want it for the grandmother and the grandfather who's been raising him. And I've been sending him the money. So I step back. The district attorney reads the law, which is a law. Every state, it doesn't vary. So he said, Mr. Russo, we're going to grant you full custody to the Caruso grandfather and grandmother. Perfect. He said, but you have to surrender 17% of your salary. I said, Your Honor, that's impossible. He said, what are you talking about? I said, well, I already have 9 kids. You can't divide 17 times 9 into 100. So even with that, we destroyed her.
Oh my word! Yeah, you spent too much time in Utah.
Well, so Michael, thank you. That we're
what a fun show.
giving due to a lot of attorneys that I love and still do, and especially a Slotnick family who's still representing me, and even the Biancos, who's my attorney in Liechtenstein. So, as Gianni is saying, keep the cards, letters coming in. It's, we love doing the show. We want to hear more of what you want to hear. And we're proving it each week. We will listen to you.
Absolutely.
And what else can we do to build up our following?
That's right. Right. Send us your ideas. We absolutely love them. And I love them because I got on this show by being a fan of the show. And luckily I can just ask questions as we go, but we need to hear yours. Either, send them into the show, put them in the comments. We're on YouTube. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean. There's a bunch of them. So you can go on YouTube and find all of them. You can watch. I don't know if you guys are listening or watching, but you've got the option of both. So you can see us on the screen, or you can just listen to us as you go. But we appreciate you tuning in every week. Thank you so much.
Yes, and before we go, a reminder, October 18th and 19th, the Marriott Hotel in Burbank, the airport hotel. And it's the Hollywood show. Look it up, get your tickets, and we'll see you there. Now Jeannie's going to show up.
I know.
I'll meet Gianni in the flesh. Hello.
In the flesh. Well, you know what? That's so exciting. I'll put a link in our show notes. I'll put it on our Facebook and on our Instagram so you guys can go right to it. I was just checking it out while we were talking, Gianni. There's a lot of fun people coming there.
Oh, is it? I don't even know. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big long list. So, all right.
So if you're going to come, I'll reserve your room before it sells out. So
absolutely, I'll come.
All right. So you come in Saturday and leave Sunday when I leave.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Sounds good.
You're going to leave late.
That's all right.
Or late afternoon. I have a dinner already planned at Universal Studios.
All right.
Very interesting people.
Yeah.
All right, good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Good night.
We'll see you on the radio
That's
next
right.
week.
All right. Have a good night.
And that was that. But I'll be back.
No regrets, no complaints. Lived a life with no restraints. The little kid they all counted out, proved them all wrong, that's without a doubt. Laying there with my left side numb, 5-year bout with polio, but yes I won. From standing on corners like how many pens friends you want to living in a bakery, then opening my own restaurant. Of course, I had some help along the way. Friends like Frank Costello that I miss each and every day. Things from many years ago still resonate.